I am here with the director of All the Devils Are Here, Barnaby Roper. Barnaby, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So the first thing I want to ask, I know this was a repeat collaboration with your writer. How did you conceive of this piece?
Well, I was, me and John, we've been working together on a few things together, and what really interests us, we did a short together and everything like that, and I'm from a very visual background, so I want to be like try and be as visual as possible, but the thing is with this, it was like, no, let's go the opposite way. Let's have two people let's have a few people in a room talking, and let's focus on the acting. Okay, so and I saw an article in a paper about he was a policeman, and he kept the scrapbook of the whole robbery, the Great Train Robbery here, and in it were these photos of the house where they hid up for a couple of days, and the house was just like, it wasn't like you kind of in your mind, because it's like gangsters, and this is a big part of the film. I think it's like it's gangsters. You think they're going to be in this house of gangstery kind of thing, but the house had floral curtains and floral wallpaper, and the kitchen was painted a nice color and everything like that. And I just said, well, what went on in that house for those amount of days? What went on psychologically and mentally, in that house? And that's what drew me to that story. So I rang up John, and I worked on it for a bit. I worked on the kind of premises and everything, and I rang up John, and what I do with John, I just like blurb it out to him, and then he goes off and starts to master his craft.
And talk about the casting process. How did you bring together this eclectic but very talented cast?
Well, Eddie, I've always wanted to work with Eddie. I mean, it's like, he's just such a stone in a rock in English cinema. So, I grew up on Ealing comedies and Ealing things, so I really wanted to make this ensemble very kind of like, I'm interested in characters, and I like the kind of playing on characters, and I like that, and I think that's sometimes that's gone now in films a little bit, and I really wanted to bring that little magic of character back a little bit. And so when we got Eddie, and that was brilliant. And then we kind of like, we were shopping around for the other kind of parts and playing around and everything like that. And then what happened was, Byrne came on, and then we were finding it hard for Grady to get the part of Grady. And my wife actually rang me up and said, oh, I've just been watching this show, and I just thought, and it's like just like the kind of guy that you're looking for. And I'm like, who's that? And it's like, oh, it's Sam Claflin. And I'm like, yeah, I'm meeting him this afternoon. And I'm meeting him, and she said, what, you're meeting him this afternoon? And I said, yeah, I'm meeting him this afternoon. And I actually knew Sam before, actually. I photographed him when he did Pirates, actually. After that, for GQ, I photographed him. And I just remember back then, how down to earth and down to earth and professional he was. And I think the thing is, it's like when you're creating this craft, putting the cast together, I think the way you make a cast really work is like, it's like you can see what the egos are like together and everything like that. And I think that the work ethic was sublime. And Tian came on too. And it all fitted in so beautifully. And actually, Rory was actually the last one on, because his character was meant to be a little bit older. But then and I'd worked with Rory before, and it was like when we got Rory, it was just all the pieces were together. And then Suki was just like, great, she was just, she sent us a tape, and I'm like, well, yes, that's her, that's the one.
And now a little bit about the visuals for the film. So this has a very unique look, like the house that we spend the majority of the film in. What were your conversations like with your production design team? And then what challenges did that pose? How did you work with your cinematographer, Peter Flickenberg, to make sure you captured what you were looking for?
Well, the we decided quite early on that we were, and production were like, we decided quite early on that we really wanted to push to build a set in a studio. So all the outside stuff in Dartmoor obviously is a house, and I think it kind of like, it's like a bit upsetting to think, but it's like to create, it was too small, the house in Dartmoor, to as you said, and so we had to create the house inside in the studio. But literally, I loved doing it, and it worked. It worked so beautifully working with the set designer and production designers and stuff like that to create this house. And every single little detail that went into the house has these little moments in it. And I think, for me, and no one really asked me for this, but I think that the house is so cluttered and it's so full of things all behind. And I think it's like you've got this film that has it's in one location, as you said. And I think that the thing that makes me really happy is that, like, when you watch it, you notice these little things behind and these details and the things, and it brings this life, brings the depth into each thing. And so with working with Peter, it's like we really kind of like worked on, we really wanted to push for as cinematically as possible in the smallest possible places too. So we really pushed that and tried to get that kind of look going throughout.
Nice. And so congratulations, this is your first feature film.
Yes.
And so you were transitioning a lot of shorts, a lot of music videos. How did it feel to make that transition, that jump to the feature film?
Well, yeah, it's a blessing, man. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I just was, as a director, like I do a lot of commercials and, you said, music videos and stuff like that, and it's great, and you get that buzz for like the day or the 2 days or the 3 days you're shooting or 4 days, But then to come in and just really work on something for so long and tirelessly and everything, and it's exhausting, and it did break me at one point, and then and it builds you back up and stuff like that, and that's what you do. That's what we want to do. We want those challenges, because because if we don't challenge ourselves in what we're doing, it's you fall out in love, and then you start to become like, good, I hate doing that, and I hate doing this, I hate that, and it's like, but what we do is magical, It's like, it's a magical job. I'm a lucky person to be able to do that, and yeah, it's like, it's my first movie, and I loved it, and I want to do more.
And now that you have, I love to ask this question of first-time feature film directors, because there's such a learning curve, because it's such a different medium when you're doing, shorts, music videos. It's similar, but it's not. Throughout the process of All the Devils Are Here, what was your greatest aha moment? And you're like, when I move into my next feature, I definitely want to do this. And what was your greatest learning hurdle where you're like, I'm going to try to skip that next time?
Everything you do is a learning curve. There's nothing, because when you're directing, it's like nothing. It's like every single day is different. So you've got problems every single day. Now, you learned that from doing music videos and doing that. But what you don't learn is how to be that consistent for that long. And so I love that. The next time, and it's super nice. Like all the actors were saying how tight the script is and how the next time it will be even tighter, and there will be less holes, and and it will be, and that's the thing that I want to focus on, is just to make it tighter and tighter. And this time I wanted to focus on the actors, and I wanted to let them shine, because being also, there's all those stigma roles of like a commercial director or music video director coming over into doing film. I didn't want to push my whole vision on the whole thing. I wanted to work with those actors, and I wanted that to be the main thing. That was the main thing. So in the next one, maybe there'll be a little bit more of a balance on that too.
And the last thing I'm going to ask is, what do you want people to take away from the film when they walk out of this? The most important thing is I want depth. I want the feeling that there's not just, this is not, because everyone ever goes to me like, oh, what's your movie about? And I say, it's a gangster movie. Okay. And that's what
and everyone goes, oh God, I love gangster movies, and oh, is it? Okay, great, you know, and it's like that. But it's so much more than that. But I'm not going to go on about that because it's like that's what I want them to see. And I really want to know that we've tried to really focus in on the emotions of these characters and trying to get the in depth and to make them actually come across as like they're living, breathing, and people who've got those emotions and the turmoil that goes on in their head, because that's the real thing here. The turmoil that goes on in their head must, and that's what I wanted to bring out.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the premiere of the film, and best of luck with it on its journey.
Thank you, mate, and thank you for coming all this way.
It was my pleasure.